Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast between Jimpo and Morrow here on Lost Temple. Here we have Jimpo spawning as the red Terran player over here at the 7 o'clock position. Meanwhile, we have Morrow spawning as the blue Terran player over here at the 8 o'clock position. So it's going to be a very mirror matchup once again. Both players pretty much opening with the same exact strategy every single time. The production overlays have been essentially spot on every time for both of these players. So I guess this would be a good time to, perfect your Terran build orders. Going to be a 9 or 10 supply depot perhaps built here for Morrow, and then I know Jimpo likes to build it behind his mineral patches there. So essentially preventing any units from being able to run along the back of these minerals. No Zerglings, no Hellions, no Dark Templars able to move around easily in the back of the base. Jimpo most likely and Morrow most likely going to be going for 12 barracks. So supply depot will finish, SCV will be trained up, waiting for 150 minerals, going to queue up another SCV, going to build a barracks right there, and then go ahead and train up an SCV, which will be perfect just about when that previous SCV was completed. So yeah, both players pretty much doing the same exact thing once again, and now we finally have Jimpo changing things up a little and now scouting out with that SCV. So SCV now scouting out, gonna go ahead and check the forest spawn before going in a nice counterclockwise direction. Normally, I like to see a lot of the players try to activate the Xel'Naga Watchtower first. By activating the Xel'Naga Watchtower, it gives you better sight throughout the map, and it just is easier to find things. So in comes the SCV. SCV quickly realizes that that is not the spawning location. Morrow now upgrading to an orbital command. Both players upgrading to an orbital command. However, Morrow a little bit of an economic advantage just because he's scouting out a little bit later. However, he will not know where Jimpo has spawned just quite yet. So Jimpo now running in. Two of these SCVs now scouting each other out, and will quickly know that Morrow is not in that location. So Morrow apparently did not see Jimpo's SCV. So Morrow quickly comes in and then runs back around, as Jimpo will figure out what exactly the strategy of Morrow is. Out comes a Marine. Marine doing a little bit of a hit and attack, however walking in the wrong direction, and now he sees everything that he needs to see. A single refinery, no tech lab on that barracks, and now still moving around, perhaps trying to see if there's any sort of factory tech. SCV, however, getting taken down. I do not think he was able to see that factory. No, the factory was not down in time for the SCV. Now we have two Marines sitting on that ramp, trying to hold off any attacks there, as a second refinery being placed down. So both players, Jimpo still producing Marines, while Morrow opting not to produce any additional Marines, getting a tech lab on his barracks instead, and perhaps we'll get another tech lab on that factory, or produce some Hellions and then do a little bit of a tech lab swap there. SCV gonna go ahead and run, almost runs to his death, able to back off as a single Marine now gives to the chase of that SCV. SCV down to 21 hit points, but will be able to escape. Orbital, now, yeah, tech lab swap there, so siege tank now being produced by Morrow. If I remember correctly, he does try to train up 2 siege tanks and then train up, or then start researching that siege tech, just because he wants those numbers, and then let the siege tech finish researching while the units are moving on out. Three Marines sitting there. Is he going to put down another tech lab or perhaps a reactor? Not sure. However, Jimpo putting down an armory and a starport here, so it looks as though it's going to be a Thor drop. Thor drop, a very interesting play. We'll see how that's really going to work out for him, as there's already a tech lab here waiting for that armory to complete. Armory taking 65 units of time, and then the Thor taking an additional 60 units of time. So yeah, now training up that Thor, and then there should be a medevac in just a moment, so we should be waiting for that. Just need a little bit more energy. However, a scouting barracks from Morrow. Wow, very gutsy move, using that barracks to scout out. Now the medevac now being trained. Marines shooting at that barracks. Barracks taking a fair share of damage. Only 3 Marines there, as those Marines should probably try to get in front of that barracks just a little bit more in order to shoot it down. Those Marines now moving away, perhaps going to get able to get a couple more shots off. That Thor is going to be completed in time, though, so that barracks will be able to catch that Thor. Will he be able to catch the Thor? Thor is going to come out, and now that barracks is now going to get shot down. So that is absolutely huge. Able to gather sight on that Thor. Medevac now moving out. Barracks down to 200 hit points. As these Marines and siege tanks now moving out, how will it all work out? Marines now dropping down, able to shoot down those Marines fairly easily, able to take down that siege tank, and that very nicely done, keeping that medevac in that game. Now gonna go ahead and perhaps drop onto some high ground. The Thor now coming in, trying to shoot down that siege tank, able to shoot it down and picked back up. So the whole entire army of Morrow now just completely devastated, in addition to losing that early barracks. What a change in the game there. Siege tech has been completed, but an amazing early Thor drop coming into just deal a lot of damage. That Thor getting in a lot of kills, getting in a lot of resource losses there. SCVs repairing that single Thor. Thor now getting nearly completed, back up to a full hit points, but no 250mm strike cannon research just quite yet. A second starport now being produced, so perhaps gonna try to, a Viking now coming in. Medevac needs to drop that cargo, able to drop that cargo just in time, and now shooting back against those Vikings. A reactor on that Viking, and now a Thor just gonna go ahead and single pop shot against the rest of those SCVs. SCVs getting taken down, taking a lot of damage there, and now Vikings coming in to join in on that fight. That Captain Thor just able to take down 16 units before getting destroyed, and that was absolutely huge. Investor-wise, Jimpo sitting at 32 against Morrow's 25. However, Morrow has double command centers, so we'll be able to replace those SCVs much more easily. And yeah, I do not agree with this double starport. Should have just saved the minerals and gas and just put down a reactor instead, as he had a little bit of options. Now going for a third starport. I don't know exactly what Jimpo's strategy is. Mass Vikings would at least have dual starports with reactors. Perhaps he wants dual starports with reactors, but Marines able to come on in and able to shoot down one single Viking with the help of one of the Vikings as well. So now 4 Vikings being produced, one of those Vikings low on hit points, and now an SCV on the move in order to do some scouting. Both 2 of those SCVs going to go ahead and bump into each other, and a siege tank giving a little gift to that poor SCV there. Jimpo now dropping that orbital command, will be able to start mining out, and the harvester count should be, or the income should be fairly even. A bunker now being laid down. Siege tank up there, but still no siege tech yet. So Jimpo without siege tech, trying to continue to move on out. Vikings still in the air, and now we're finally getting one tech lab, and now double starports. So still curious on what exactly that strategy is. Perhaps Jimpo did not want to take a starport offline for 50 units of time in order to produce double Vikings, or in order to produce that reactor. But then you at least could have done a little bit of a tech lab, a reactor swap with that barracks here. Let the barracks build the reactor, and then over here, and then do that little bit of a tech lab swap. Vikings and Marines coming in, a single barracks once again in the air. Siege tanks trying to gather more and more position. Siege tanks should go ahead and siege up right here. Perhaps build a missile turret or 2 in order to fend off any Vikings or any Banshees as well, as these units now moving out. A lot of Vikings in the air, a group of 7 Vikings and a dead SCV from a siege tank, as a siege tank able to get off a single blast once again. However, an army of Vikings perhaps going to go ahead and engage. So focus firing these Vikings. Are they going to do a little bit of a hit and attack? No. Jimpo decided to move back first, and then takes a couple chasing Lancer torpedoes in order to take down more of those Vikings. SCVs coming off the mineral line, now repairing the rest of these Vikings. I do not see any armories or any research yet. Double starports with double reactors. So yeah, Morrow really investing heavily on this Viking army, still producing siege tanks. So it is going to be a siege tank and Viking battle between these 2 players. Now a supply depot being built over here, perhaps in order to get a little bit. SCVs once again just getting taken down by these units, and now still no siege tech here. So I do not know what Jimpo is thinking. Jimpo just constantly losing these units. Banshees now coming. A single Banshee is produced. Vikings trying to land. However, that single Banshee being left to die. That was a horrible, horrible miscalculation by Jimpo. Banshee was needed in order to take down the rest of these siege tanks. Army-wise, yeah, Morrow just sitting on a massively larger army, 2550 versus 1350. Stay tuned for part 2 of this replay between Morrow and Jimpo here on Lost Temple.